Welcome to Jerry Berry's Friend-Tastic Library, the podcast where I interview everyday average people about their fantastic lives. Today, we're not listening to anybody's story. We're talking about this guy, girl, this person. So yeah, I decided to do a bonus video on the statistics of the first 10 episodes of the Friend-Tastic Library / reflections and frequently asked questions for yours truly, Jerry Berry, your host. So I'll start off going through the statistics, and then at the end, I'll go through some frequently asked questions and some questions that people have asked me on social medias and stuff like that, just to get to know me, how I got started, how I name my episodes, how I find guests. I've had questions about money. I've had questions about what I've learned along the way. So we'll do all of that after we do the stats. So without further ado, let me bring up my PowerPoint. Boom. All right. So the Friend-Tastic Library stats for episode 1 through 10. And you can see all of their beautiful faces. All 10 of them are there. Some of the faces got cut off a little bit on the slideshow, but that's okay. So let's see. The episodes 1 through 10 are as follows in order: 30 Flirty and Learning with Michelle, In the Army Now and Then with Randy, 500 Days of Seth and Cannabis with Seth, Practical Magic for Periods and Anxiety with Noemi, Bend It Like Bevan with Bevan, 21st Century Teen Wolf with Ash. We have The Perks of Being a Business Owner with Bree, Downton Sarah with Sarah. We have What to Expect When You're Expecting a Surrogate with Melissa. And finally, the one that just came out on Friday, the 21st, was Hidden Statistics with Emily. So all exciting things. So from the 10 episodes, they aired from every Friday from 11:19 to 1:21. The total runtime of all 10 of those episodes is 15 hours and 34 seconds. The average episode length is an hour and a half. The shortest episode was Noemi's Practical Magic for Periods and Anxiety, coming in at an hour and 7 minutes and 49 seconds. The longest episode was Bend It Like Bevan with Bevan, and that was an hour and 53 minutes and 29 seconds. So I collect data on all my guests through a Google form, and I just find out a little bit about them because I feel like books always have like an about the author section, and you can also find most of this information about books. So about book authors. And since these are the people's stories in a human library, this is like, a little bit about them. So we have a map here that shows the countries that people are from. We have one originally from Hungary, one from England, and the other 8 are from the United States. To further break it down, we have the bar graph that you see there in green that gives you the actual cities where they are from. So, or the general area. Some of them aren't as specific. And then in orange, we have the where they live now. So that's the states that they live in. We have 4 from Pennsylvania, 4 from California, a Tennessee, and a Washington. So I thought that was really interesting. And I would love one day for my map to be filled in more. I like cropped out most of the empty space for viewing ease, but I would love if I could have like a map with all these awesome colors on it. So from there, we have our religion and our political alignment. A lot of people don't like to answer this question, and that's totally fine. My Google form is always optional. It says it very blatantly, like 2 separate times on the form to make sure you understand. So for religion, 6 out of 10 people didn't even want to answer. And then we have 1 person that was Catholic, 2 people that identify as Christian, and 1 is a witch sun, a Christian moon, and a Jewish rising. So that's really fun. I loved that answer. With the political alignment, again, almost nobody wanted to answer this one. I think the world we live in right now makes it hard for people to want to open up about it. So 8 people just left it blank, or said something to the effect of, I don't really know, or I'm kind of in between, or something like that. There was 1 person that identified as independent and 1 person that identified as Republican. And then from there, we get into themselves, how they view themselves. So 1 person's sexual orientation is queer, 1 person did not want to answer, and the rest are all straight. Cis, straight, heterosexual, those are all the responses they gave for that one. And then as far as pronouns go, we have 3 of them identify as he, him, 50% were she, her, 10% was she, they, and then one said you can't get my pronouns incorrect. So that's kind of how I am. I don't really care what pronoun you call me. If I'm asked to put it down somewhere, I say she, her. So, and then we move on to ethnicity. On the Google form, it's race. It's listed as race or ethnicity. I don't really like race as a category. I don't think it's good. So that's why I usually just break it down by ethnicity. So 5 people said they're just white. That was just their answer, white or Caucasian. There's one that said white British. So that'd be the person that came from England. So they have like, I guess they broke their ethnicity down more specifically, not just white. And then one person was half white, half Hispanic. So that was their response. Another person is Black or African American. Black, I would assume, is how she would feel her race was, and her ethnicity would be African American. One person decided not to answer at all. And then the one person from Hungary broke hers down even further, saying she's white, but Hungarian and Swedish ethnicities. So I thought that was cool. That's pretty much it as far as the statistics go. I've had a lot of fun getting to know all of these people, and learning so much about them. So I had posted on social media a while ago that I wanted to work on this and get this set up for you guys. And people had asked me questions, and I've had a lot of guests ask me questions as well. Like before and after episodes, we always chat for a little bit. And that was like the biggest question is like, what have you learned so far? And I wrote down like little things that I've learned from every episode. So like with my sisters, she was the first one. I know my sister really, really well, but I learned a lot about the details of her career and why she chose that career, like her path. I guess she's in college. So her major, I learned more details about her major and why she's going for that major. And then we also learned new things about each other when we were at the very end. We talked about like our favorite moments or memories of each other. So that was new learning experience for me. With my brother Randy, I don't really know him that well, and I said that in the episode itself, but I did learn so much about his life in the military that I never knew. I learned so much about how the military works that I never knew. Well, the Army specifically, I should just say Army because he didn't, military suit general. I learned about his wife. I had no idea like how him and his wife had met or anything like that. So yeah, I thought that was really fun. With my ex-boyfriend Seth, it was nice catching up and reminiscing on like old high school days. He's one of the few people that like knew me in high school and knew my family at that time that I could talk to about it. I learned how he found cannabis because the Seth I knew came from like a very conservative family, and where I grew up, cannabis is not accepted at all. When I was growing up, it was not accepted at all. And I don't know if things have changed there or not, but yeah, so it was interesting hearing how he found that coming from a place that was looked down upon it very greatly growing up. With Noemi, I love Noemi so much. And I loved getting to talk about anxiety, periods, holistic things, feminist things. But I had no idea that Noemi was from Hungary. So that was like amazing to me. I learned so much about her and her family, and what it's like to live in or be from another country. Same thing with Bevan. I absolutely love Bevan. I could have talked to Bevan for 8 hours and still not been bored. So that made sense that her episode was the longest. I learned so much from Bevan before the episode even started recording. I took so many notes during of stuff to like read or look at or watch. She gave so many excellent recommendations. I learned so much about her as a person and how she found herself as a person. And yeah, she gave me advice on my podcast. She gave me advice on like just the life. It was amazing. I can't learn enough from Bevan, I feel like. With my nephew Ash, I again didn't really know much about him. Like he was going through a lot of stuff in his youth, which he had shared with us on the episode. And I ended up moving in the midst of his transition and all of that. So I just didn't know anything about him. I love that he opened up and shared about all of that stuff. And then the one thing that I had no idea about, even though I have friends that have talked to me before who are trans or part of the LGBTQIA plus community, I had no idea what like gender dysphoria, I think it's called gender dysphoria is. And it's the idea that you have anxieties about your outers representing your inners. So it's like the constant worry that I don't appear to be a boy, or I don't appear to be a girl, or I don't appear to be matching the pronouns that I identify as. And I had no idea that that was a thing. And I get anxiety just thinking about it as a person with anxiety, knowing that there's like another group of people that has even more anxiety about life. And I felt really bad. So I loved learning about that, but at the same time, it was like, it hurt my heart. Okay. And then with the perks of being a business owner with my friend Bree, I had no idea about her mental health journey. So I loved learning and hearing about that. I loved that we talked about it so openly. I also had no idea how she started her business. I love talking about how she started her business. It was super nice catching up with her because we don't talk enough. I think that's what I've enjoyed the most is all of these people are people that I know and they're friends on Facebook, or like I've hung out with them before, or their family. And I just didn't know as much about them as I thought I did. And I think that's been the funnest part. With Sarah, it was like all the British things. I loved learning about all the British things, like how to eat fish and chips, fun words. Like I will never forget now that in England, a fanny is a vagina, and here fanny is like a fanny pack or like your ass. So that was just hilarious to me. She was like, yeah, I thought it was a vagina pack. I thought that's where it got its name. Like, I don't know. So I loved that. What to expect when you're expecting a surrogate. I learned so much about surrogacy. I feel like I had asked Melissa so many questions during her journey because she was so open about it, but I wasn't asking the questions that I thought I should have, I guess, because you all asked such great questions. I learned even more. I learned more about the process after the baby's born, and it goes home with the parents, and learned more about the money and the money breakdown and everything. Yeah, I loved that one. I had a lot of notes on that one as well. And then with the last one with Emily, it was a lot of fun catching up with her and hearing how she's been since we graduated like 6-ish months ago, 7 months ago. And it was really reassuring to learn that I'm not the only ex-student that's like stressing all the time or having anxieties about like not doing enough work. And I really loved talking to her about feminist things again. I really enjoy talking about that with people. So I like whenever I find people that are on the same page as me. Yeah. So that's what I've learned. Okay. Another one that almost every single guest, I think every single guest has asked this before or after the recording has ended. And it's how I decided, or why I decided to do a podcast. And I like to talk a lot. If you don't know me, I do like to talk a lot, and I like to hang out. I'm a very social person. I'm very extroverted. COVID makes it hard to hang out with people. Having a family makes it hard to hang out with people. And I've always wanted to do a podcast, but I've always like doubted myself because I had this mentality that I had to be great at something if I was going to do it, and it had to make a lot of money to make it worth something. And I've since changed to that mindset, and that I have this one life, just like all of us. I have this one life right now, and I'm not going to sit here and not make a podcast because I'm worried you all won't like it. Like that just seemed, after I thought about it, that just seemed silly. It's like, what does it hurt putting it out there, right? So I just decided to put it out there. I knew very like early, like years ago, that if I were to ever make a podcast, it would be an interview style, because I loved listening to interview style podcasts. I'd never liked listening to a podcast where a guy or a person just talks to you about whatever. I don't know. Usually they're like self-help or reviews on TV shows or reviews on books or whatever, right? So I loved interview styles. I loved hearing about people's stories, even people that I didn't know. I loved hearing about their stories. I listened to a podcast about like witchcraft and paganism, and I loved the one channel that I listened to that I can no longer remember the name of. They always had guests on, and the guests would talk about like how they became a pagan or a witch, or when they came out of the broom closet. I don't know. I loved all of it. So anyways, I knew it would be an interview style. So whenever I was finally like building up the courage to tell the people that I wanted to do a podcast, I told my husband first, because he's like my best friend. No offense to the other people listening to this that that know that they're my best friend as well. But my husband is like my go-to best friend because he's always here. And so I told him, and he was like, oh, you'd be great at that. You should just do it. And it is literally the easiest hobby to take on. That's why there's like 8 million podcasts in the world. It's the easiest one and it's the cheapest one. I spent $0 to start a podcast. That's a lie. I spent $8 to start a podcast. And I'll tell you what I spent it on. So that's why I did it. And it's just been amazing. It's so fun. It's the funnest thing I've ever done, for sure. Just to come to my garage, hide in my garage for a couple hours and talk to people and then post it. And then you guys listen to it. And every guest has said they had fun. They've all said that they enjoyed it more than they thought they would. They've all said that they're like honored that they get to be on a podcast. They've loved sharing it with people. They've loved seeing that people are listening to it. Like, I love seeing that people listen to it. So the $8 that I spent was on these curtains behind me. These are black curtains from Dollar General. And I bought 4 panels, and I believe they were $2 each, which is the $8. So I might be a little off with that, but it was something like that. And that's all I spent. The microphone that you, if you ever see it, is my husband's microphone from him recording music. Same with these headphones, but you don't need it. You definitely do not need it. Every guest on my podcast does not have a fancy microphone. So the people that you hear on the episodes talking, they sound just fine. They're very understandable, and they have no microphone with them. So whatever you have at home works. Again, you don't need headphones. I just use them because they work with the microphone well, and it makes sure that I can hear that my audio is not higher than my guest's audio. But I've had it tuned in now, so I don't actually need to wear them. I kind of just wear them to ignore the outside noise because I have lots of loud cars and dogs barking behind me. My laptop is just a laptop. It's not like a MacBook Pro. I think it's a Lenovo Yoga that I bought for myself in college in 2019, probably. So that's why the camera looks like it's off of a Nokia phone. It's not a great camera. And to be honest, I don't care, because a podcast is for listening. It's not really for watching. And if people watch this on YouTube just so they have faces to put to the person, it doesn't need to be 4K quality. It doesn't matter. So if you have a phone and you have a voice recording device, you can make a podcast. Voice recording apps are free on phones. I have a couple different ones. If you have a laptop, you can make a podcast. You can record it anywhere. A Zoom account is free. So yeah, it's the easiest thing to start. I love it. Absolutely love it. Okay, so the next one is naming episodes. So I don't know why, but for the first episode with my sister, I knew before I recorded it that I was going to title it 30, Flirty, and Learning. And it's because me and my sister turned 30 this year. So my sister's single, so she's flirty, and she's in college, so she's learning. And I instantly thought of 13 going on 30. And that's what she wants to be, 30, flirty, and thriving. So I changed it to Learning. And then with my second episode, I was talking in the episode with my brother Randy about the movie In the Army Now. It's a really dumb comedy with Pauly Shore, and they're part of the water sanitation group in the Army. And so I knew that I wanted to name it that, but I wanted to change it a little bit. I didn't want to name it exactly as the movie. So I said in the Army now and then, because he isn't in the Army now. He was in the Army like back then. And then I kind of liked the idea of keeping up with the movie titles, because then I interviewed Seth and I instantly thought of the movie 500 Days of Summer, because the whole point of that movie to me, if you haven't seen it, is this guy thinks that he has this glorious relationship with like this woman that he's going to love forever and ever and ever. And there's a moment where he talks to his little sister and she says, I think you're only looking at the positives. Maybe you need to revisit it and you'll realize that the relationship wasn't that great and that you weren't meant to be. And so I loved the idea that I was going back and interviewing an ex-boyfriend, and we would revisit the relationship and where we've gone and where we've been and all those things. So then I just got stuck on movie titles. So now I just think of movies. I love movies. So now I just think of movies whenever I'm titling them. So yeah, I don't know like what came after that. There was Practical Magic, because Noemi is like very holistic, and I just always feel like very like witchy and pagan around fellow goddesses. With Bevan, I really just liked the way it sounded. Like instead of bend it like Beckham, bend it like Bevan. It was just so perfect. And I feel like for its time, Bend It Like Beckham wanted to be like a Disney queer movie, but it couldn't because it was Disney like in the late 90s, early 2000s. So it was like wasn't acceptable. Anyways, I felt like it fit her very well. With my nephews, it was called 21st Century Teen Wolf, because I think it's funny in Teen Wolf that like he's a werewolf and he's like transitioning into being a werewolf during his most lucrative years of finding his identity as a teenager. And that's what happens with a lot of people that are trans. They're going through this whole they're going through the teen identity crisis that we all go through. That's teenage angst, and our brains are trying to rewire itself and figure itself out. And that's normally whenever these people that are trans start to realize like I'm not who I am. I need to change like all of this to match all of this in here. So I thought that was a good title for it, but I didn't know how to like tweak it a bit, so I just made it like 21st Century Teen Wolf. That way you know it's the modern day. Anyways, perks of being a business owner. The Perks of Being a Wallflower is filmed in Pittsburgh. It's centered around a group of friends that are weirdos, and somehow they end up being friends even though they're weirdos. They love music, and the one guy suffers from mental health. I won't ruin any more than that, because if you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. But that was like, whenever you boil it down, that sums up me and Brianna. We're from Pittsburgh. We love music. We're weirdos that became friends. We both suffer from mental health. So it was just the perfect title. And then what else? Oh, Downton Sarah was pretty obvious. Actually, Chris helped me come up with that because I could not think of a British movie that would work. So Downton Sarah was just funny to me. What to Expect When You're Expecting a Surrogate. I love the movie What to Expect When You're Expecting. It is so funny. It portrays being pregnant so well in so many ways. It's a great film. And yeah, that made sense to me. And then Hidden Statistics. I knew I wanted it to be about I knew I wanted the title to reference a math movie, so I had considered Good Will Hunting. The unfortunate part is that in Hollywood, movies surrounding math is always white dudes, and me and Emily are not white dudes, so it didn't fit. Yeah, so Hidden Figures is a movie about 3 women of color that work for NASA in the math and computing department, or the engineering department. I think one of them's an engineer. And it's back in the day whenever women had to like only work at desks, and they had to wear pearls and heels and skirts, and there was a colored bathroom and a colored coffee pot, and it's a really good movie. So yeah, I changed it to Hidden Statistics. That's how I named them. What's next? We're almost done, I promise. Oh yeah, so as far as money, people ask me all the time if I make my money. I do not. I have the opportunity now, because I have enough listeners, to read ads for Anchor or other companies through Anchor and Spotify and add them in to start making money. I haven't decided if I want to do that. I don't think I want to sell myself. It's not worth it. I'm having a lot of fun doing what I do. I don't want people to regulate what I'm doing, so I probably will never ever run ads unless me and a company come to an agreement of like, this is my podcast and I actually like this product and I actually use this product, so I'll discuss it. But for the most part, I don't want to. That's just the plain and simple fact of it. I do have a Patreon, and I've mentioned it maybe in 2 episodes. It's always in the description, but I have an Amazon wish list and I have a Patreon. The perks of joining the Patreon is like early access to episodes. I have a Discord channel if you pay highly enough, and on the Discord channel you can you can vote on stuff. Do you like ask me anythings? Yeah, let me know if you're interested in being on the episode, all that stuff through the Discord. Literally don't have a single patron, so that's that. And again, I'm not in it for money. I have those things set up because I had people tell me like, if you ever need something for your podcast and your hobby, then it's nice to have that opportunity for people to like buy you something or donate to the cause, right? So that's that. And then how I find people. I have a list. I have my bullet journal for specifically for podcasting. And so I'll show you like a blank page because I don't want to give away all my secrets. But I have a list where I can write down everybody's names that I think I want to ask. And then I break it down by section of if I've actually asked them, if they've said yes or no, if I've scheduled it, if I've recorded it, so on and so forth. So besides the list, I have people that ask if they want to be on the show. So I slowly make my way through the list depending on how I'm feeling. And I also have people that say that like respond to social media questions saying they want to be on the show. And I usually go down that list first and I try to schedule things. Scheduling things is hard. So if you've been wanting to be on the podcast, now's your chance. Like reach out to me and I will put you on the show for sure. And it's literally first come first serve around here. I don't have a method to my madness. I'm not like methodically placing episodes in certain places. It's literally just the order that I interview people. Every once in a while I have to delay somebody because like I had to edit 2 videos together because the internet went out, so we had like a break in the recording. Or sometimes somebody gets pushed back because they haven't filled out the Google form or sent me like a picture for the profile picture yet. And I know that they wanted that stuff there. So, but other than that, like whenever I interview you, it'll go up in the next in line. Right. So like, if you're hearing this and you want to be on the show, just reach out to me. I would love to talk to any and all of you, literally any and all of you. I have no biases. I have no favorites. I have no judgment. All I have are my own self-doubts. So that means if I haven't asked you and you're offended, please don't be. It's just me being self-conscious and feeling weird about asking somebody to be on a podcast that isn't famous or making tons of money or anything like that. So yeah, for some reason, certain people I get in my head and I'm like, no, I don't want to bother them. No, they'll think this is dumb. I know they won't want to be on this. They're not that kind of person. So I have to really like break through those to end up asking people. And surprisingly, I haven't really had anybody say no. I've had people not be able to like do it anytime soon. And they end up just, like asking me to wait until a certain date and get back to them. And then it starts the process all over where I have to fight through all my insecurities again to reach out to you again. So yeah. I don't want anybody to ever feel offended. I want any and all people to be on the episode. It's just hard for me to reach out sometimes. I have to find time to do it. And once I have the time to do it, I have to get through the mental blockage to do it. And I think that's it. People have asked what's coming next or what I hope and wish. And it's like nothing really. I just hope this keeps going and that I keep having fun and I keep meeting new people and I keep learning new things about people I already know and things like that. I plan to do book reviews every month. So if you know anything about BookTube or Bookish YouTube, there's a lot of people that whenever they, at the end of every month, they'll put up stats and info on all the books that they've read that month. And I plan on doing that this year to keep myself accountable. Last year, whenever I started my job in July, I was able to read from July to the end of the year, like 20 books. And I should clarify that I do audiobooks. Some people claim that as listening, not reading. So if that's you, I listen to audiobooks. I don't read physical books or ebooks. So anyways, I made a goal to do 52 this year. So at the end of every month, I will be posting book reviews. Yeah. So for those that are listening through Spotify, if you watch this episode on YouTube, you will actually see the graphs that I've created. For those that are watching on YouTube, you're seeing all of this and it's all good. It'll be the same thing with the book reviews one. If you're listening on Spotify, you'll hear everything I'm saying and you'll get the gist and you'll love it. It'll be great because it's the Friend-Tastic library. But if you do log on to YouTube and watch the video, then you'll get to see the pretty graphs I make. But yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. Thank you for continuing to listen for 10 full weeks. That's crazy to me that I did it for 10 full weeks. And I'll do this every 10 weeks. So 10 weeks from now, we'll be looking at the first 20 episodes and we'll go 30, 40. We'll just keep going. until we make it to a year. I'll probably do a super duper special episode after 52 weeks for a full year of podcasting. So thanks, guys. You can always find me on Instagram, jshore0307 for Instagram. I'm Jerri Shore on Facebook. I don't have any other social medias. YouTube is YouTube is Jerri Berry's Friend-Tastic Library. Email is the Jerri Berry podcast at gmail.com. You can search Jerri Berry podcast or Jerri Berry Friend-Tastic Library on Patreon. It's all kind of the same realm in there. The profile picture is always the same. Yeah. Thank you. I love you all. Bye.